Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, the Reign of Horror, and I have a few things that I want to discuss because I'm in a bad mood. And that's because of a lot of things. But primarily, it has to do with what happened last night. For those of you who don't know, and most likely most of you don't, last night the Eurovision Song Contest happened. I know it seems weird for me to be watching that, but that was sort of a thing, that I did for the most part. It was more of a tradition in the house, in my household, to watch the song contest. See if there are some good songs out there. There were a few. However, last night pissed me off. And it all has to do with one thing. The voting system that they produced. You see, this year they decided to do a different voting system than they had done previously. Previously, they based the vote specifically on the viewers. The viewers were able to vote, and the country would and based on the votes, the country would cast their respective votes. However, this year they decided to do this. They decided to lump together, to have a jury give out those points, and then they had a second round where they just combined all the points given to each country by the viewers and redistribute them as they went along, redistribute them by the end. And here's the thing. When the jury was done, the country who was in the lead was Australia. Still don't know why Australia is part of the Eurovision Song Contest, but okay, Australia was in the lead. And when the viewers came along, the country they had the most votes for was Russia. Who won the contest then after that? Ukraine. Ukraine won. So the country the jury wanted to win didn't. The country that the people wanted to win didn't. How is this a good voting system exactly? You're basically pissing off everyone who voted. Basically, the jury didn't get their pick. The people didn't get their pick. They got the secondary option. I mean, I'm sure it's good for Ukraine and the people who voted for Ukraine, sure, but this makes no sense. Why the fuck did they introduce this jury system when in previous years, every year, it was all on the people? The people were supposed to vote. And this year, they voted again. And they basically, because they introduced this jury system, they screwed over Russia from winning. Now, to be fair, Ukraine was in the I believe it was in second place in the jury, and it was in second place on the viewers. So I get that it's the second place for both, so that wins. But still, the people clearly wanted Russia to win, and the jury clearly wanted Australia to win, and yet you picked none. You picked none of them to win. What the hell? You know what else pisses me off? When I was watching this show, my favorites were Poland. I know I'm Norwegian, but Norway didn't make it to the finals, and even then, the song they chose was pretty bad anyway, so that got thrown out. We got some pretty bad songs in there anyway, so maybe they should have been there. But anyway, I'm getting off track. I was rooting for Poland because they had the best song, in my opinion, with Russia and Cyprus as a close second for me. When the jury votes came in, Poland got 7 points. 7. While most of the countries got at least over 100 or 90 points. So it was second to lowest out of all of them. Meanwhile, do you know which place Poland came on in the viewer votes? 3. It was the 3rd highest voted country in the viewer poll out of all of the countries. Poland was number 3. It was... So basically, the jury screwed... This jury screwed over Poland as well. Because they put them on such a low ranking that when the viewer votes came in, they had no chance of winning, despite the fact that so many people wanted them to win as well. I mean, yes, they were number 3, so obviously they didn't... There were a lot more who wanted Russia to win. But still, it just showed how different the jury and the viewers were compared to each other. So, why did they decide to do this? Basically, it made it look like Poland had no chance, that nobody wanted Poland to win, despite the fact that the viewers wanted them to win. It crushed all kinds of suspense that we might have had for this show, because usually they have a lot of suspense where they deal out points from the viewers, and while there was suspense at the end, I feel like it was kind of ruined. You know, in my personal opinion, what they could have done is to do the viewer system like they did this year. Instead of having all those greetings from all the countries, where you have some weak freaking, where you have some them wasting our time just saying, "I'm happy you have a good night" and all that, and instead you could move on to just giving the points. You know, that's the point. You know, that's why that's why you're coming on TV anyway. You're supposed to just give us the points from that country. And usually when they contact these people, there's usually a lot of technical issues, which means that we're wasting even more time instead of getting to the freaking points. You know, so we can announce a winner. This show already lasts 3 hours. 2 of which goes to the songs, and 3 to just nonsense at the end. Why can't we just get the songs, have the voting start? You know, obviously we need some time to get the votes in, you know, count, so you can have all the nonsense there, but when you get to the point counting, get the point counting out of the way immediately. And don't introduce this system, because it takes too long. Sure, it makes it a little bit more suspenseful, but it just felt like a slap in the face when the results came in. They screwed up royally here. Russia was screwed out of the victory that the people wanted them to have, and Australia was screwed out of the victory that the jury wanted to have, for a song that, in my personal opinion, shouldn't even have been in the contest. To me, Ukraine had the absolute worst song of the entire thing, if only for one reason. Apparently, if your song is political, it's not allowed. It's disqualified. But yet, in the first lines of the song, it goes, "The soldiers came in and killed her, and they said, 'We're not guilty.'" How is that not a political thing? I mean, I know they say it's just a story that her grandmother told her, but no, that sounds very political to me. And even then, even if I could exclude that as a political point, it was still a pretty boring song. A pretty boring song. I would probably, if I gave it some points, I would probably give it a 2. You know, the voting system 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12. I would give it a 2. It was not very good. in my personal opinion. But what the flying fuck? This wasn't this wasn't what the people wanted. This wasn't what the jury wanted, and yet that was the song that won anyway. It's ridiculous on a high scale. That pissed me off. And this... I'm done. I'm done with Eurovision. I just wanted to put this out there because I am so fucking pissed off. And unless they give the victory to either Australia or Russia, you know, the one that either the jury or the people won, you know, pick one. Personally, I would stick with what you've done for all these years and pick the one the people wanted and pick Russia as your winner and nullify Ukraine's victory. But nope, that's apparently not what they're gonna do. Why can't they just nullify the victory? I really wish they could just nullify the victory and just give the victory to the ones who deserved it. You know, the one people wanted to win, Russia. Instead of having this jury screw over Russia by giving all the points to Australia and Ukraine. Well, mostly Australia, but you still get my point. So that's Eurovision. I'm done with Eurovision once and for all. This... I'm done. Moving on. I did have something else I wanted to talk about, which was... what was it again? Oh yes. I'm a bit late to this one, but WWE is spring cleaning. Yes, I'm going back to wrestling for a little bit because I wanted to talk a little bit about the people who have been released from WWE and some people who are probably gonna be released later on. So let's go over the list of who has been released. First, we have an NXT backstage interviewer, announcer, I don't know, by the name of Rich Brennan. Don't really know too much about him. I didn't really take notice of him on commentary anyway, so not a huge loss. Kyle Edwards, host of 5 Things, did some decent job on the Up Up Down Downs retro streams there and there. Oh well. He wasn't too bad, but hey, I guess he was expendable. And then we got the but these were released a bit early. Now we get to the top. Now we get to the big ones. The big 8. The big 8. 8 people were released the very same day. Those people were Hornswoggle, El Torito, Cameron, Alex Riley, Santino Marella, Wade Barrett, let's see. Oh yeah, Seb Coulter and Damian Sandow. Let me just quickly go over those I don't really care too much about. El Torito never really made any sort of impact on me. He was just part of a stupid gimmick that they gave, the stupid Los Matadores gimmick. And since they're apparently repackaging them back to Primo and Epico as a team called the Shining Stars or something, I don't know. But they basically have been a very patriots for Puerto Rico, so okay. It's a weird gimmick, but can't be any worse than the Los Matadores, I hope. So yeah, they didn't really need him anymore, so Hornswoggle. That doesn't surprise me really. He was just kind of there. He had some stupid comedy gimmicks here and there, and just never really clicked with me. No, not all that much. And he was recently suspended for violation of the wellness policy. So yeah, not a huge loss. Cameron, she was never a good wrestler at all. She had one of the worst theme songs in the world, and really not a huge loss. She might as well just go. Oh, we have no need for her. Santino Marella. This one surprised me. Not because they released him, but because he was still there. I mean, Santino retired from wrestling 2 years ago, and yet he was still employed in the company. For no good reason, really. I have not seen him on TV at all. He doesn't really seem to have anything. He doesn't really seem to do anything outside of the company anyway, so I don't know. Really, Santino was just kind of annoying to see around everywhere, and he was just kind of wasting my time. The only time it was actually interesting was the time when he spent as a heel alongside Beth Phoenix. But other than that, no, it wasn't worth anything, and I'm not gonna miss him. And then we have Seb Coulter. That was a bit disappointing, you know. I felt the guy had was a pretty good manager, and he had some good mic skills on his back. But he was just bogged down with horrible gimmicks, you know, the real American and things with the whole racist gimmick and all that, and then the whole Mex America gimmick with Del Rio that really went nowhere and was just kind of boring. Yeah, I can understand why they got rid of him, but it's a bit disappointing. The guy had a lot of things that you could have held on to. Oh well. Then we have Alex Riley. I thought Alex Riley was at least decent, you know. Alex Riley was a pretty decent wrestler, not great, but he had some good moments here and there. He didn't really come into his own for me until NXT when he started really working there. He had some decent matches with Kevin Owens, and he had a pretty good match with Shinsuke Nakamura as his last match, but he just never really left an impact. And really, I think WWE is better off without him, honestly. I think he can do better somewhere else, potentially. And then we have the big two. These are the two that, to many people, were the biggest losses of this year. Let's talk about the one that we knew was coming, but it's still disappointing. Wade / King / Bad News Barrett. The guy asked for his release. We knew he was asking for his release. He said he wasn't going to renew his contract this summer. So WWE was just really there was no real point in keeping him around if he wasn't going to resign. So why not just kick him out? And that seems to be what he wanted. And yeah, I could see them doing that because really Barrett hasn't really been utilized at all in the previous years. I mean, partially it's due to the unfortunate thing that he got injured a couple of times, but also because of some shit booking. You know, the whole Nexus angle thing, how he was booked when he became King of the Ring, and League of Nations was booked pretty bad. So yeah, it's partially creative, partially accidents, but Barrett was just really wasted around here, and I'm hoping he can get some. I'm hoping he can get become better when he returns to wrestling at some point, because he's taking a break from it. I'm hoping for the best because the guy was really good, especially on the mic. He was really good at what he did, and he had some. He was a pretty decent worker in the ring, so I'm hoping for the best for the guy. And then we have the one that pissed off people the most. Damien Sandow. And I do get why. Damien Sandow has provided us with some comedic moments over the years. Here's the thing. I really did enjoy his time as the intellectual savior, because he was pretty entertaining in that fashion of how he insulted people and how he did things and how committed he was to the role. That's the thing about Sandow. No matter how stupid things were that they gave him, he seemed very committed to doing those things if he could. Like when he became the Miz's stunt double, became Damien Mizdow, and he just proceeded to be his stunt double whenever he went out there. Where if the Miz got hit with something, he would hit him. He would basically wrestle with the air and hit himself. Oh, that's pretty funny. But the guy was pretty much dead in the water ever since he lost the Money in the Bank. That's really the only thing that in history you're gonna remember Damien Sandow for. He was the first guy to ever lose, first and only guy to lose Money in the Bank. And here's the thing, when I say lose, I mean he lost the match. Because you might say, no, John Cena lost Money in the Bank. No, technically speaking, he won the match. He didn't get the championship, but he still won the match. Damien Sandow didn't. He lost in a very humiliating fashion, and he was pretty much done after. Now, granted, I never really thought Sandow was World Championship material, but that still bothers me that they did that. It made Sandow look so terrible. And it was incredibly annoying to see that happen. I still maintain to this day that he should have dropped that briefcase to Cody, and he should use that as a way to elevate to the top and elevate to the main to becoming a main eventer against Alberto Del Rio, instead of bringing in John Cena and doing that stupid title unification. Still pissed about that. Still want them to split those championships again. But I'm getting off topic here. But that's not all. There's also been talks of having more releases, and just recently there was a rumor that apparently Lillian Garcia, the main ring announcer has apparently been released. I mean, she was a pretty decent commentator, and she had some good stuff under her belt, but she's bunched up a few ring announcing here and there, and honestly, I mean, we do have some people going for. I mean, we still have, you know. I've never been a huge fan of JoJo as an announcer, but Eden is pretty okay. So we still have those. So yeah, not a huge loss if she's gone, but hey, it's not really. I mean, it's not good that people are losing their job, but it's not a huge loss if she's gone. And then, of course, we have two names in particular that looks like are gonna be kicked out of here soon. Let's start with the one that's most obviously that I would be really shocked if he's not fired. Adam Rose. Why? Well, number of reasons. One, Adam Rose was suspended for violation of the wellness policy, and he was fighting it. But then another incident happened where he was in an argument with his wife, and this ended with him being arrested for silencing a witness and domestic abuse. Apparently, domestic violence, domestic abuse, or something. Either way, it's pretty bad. And he's been to court, and he has been fined, and he's going back to court, and such. And WWE, because of this incident, have suspended him indefinitely. They haven't fired him yet, but they suspended him. These allegations are pretty bad. So yeah, if Adam Rose doesn't get fired, I will be really shocked. I mean, I'm not passing any judgment on what happened and what the judges should do or shouldn't do. But just that the incident is getting mentioned and all, and that this court case is happening, could potentially be enough for WWE to just fire him outright. I mean, they removed Jimmy Snuka from the WWE Hall of Fame when he was charged with murder, despite the fact that the court case hadn't even happened yet. So we didn't really know whether or not Snuka was guilty or not, and yet they still screwed him because of the incident. So yeah, if Rose gets convicted, he should be fired. He really should be fired, because you can't really have someone around that does this kind of thing. If he doesn't, there's still a good chance that they will fire him anyway because of the publicity that comes with it. So yeah, I see Adam Rose getting fired pretty soon, honestly. Whether it be before or after his second court case, I don't know. But most likely he's going to get fired. And then we have another one. And then we have the last one on the list. He's a bit more up in the air whether or not he's going to be fired, but it's a good indicator that he could be fired. That is Ryback. Ryback recently left Raw. He was at Raw, but he left after a discussion with the company, and then he went on Twitter and released a huge blog stating his problems with the company, about his ideal that about how everyone should be paid equally for the job that they do. He has some points to his matter, but I'm not gonna get into all that. I don't agree with him 100%. That's all I can say. But essentially, this thing that he's basically kind of trying to expose the company and trying to fight the company in this way over the money, it doesn't really bode well for him. And apparently his I think it was his merchandise that was pulled from the store. So it could be that they're planning on releasing him in the future, or Ryback's potentially going to quit. He even said so in the blog. He doesn't care if WWE releases him for this or not. So could easily happen. So yeah, I'm not gonna. It wouldn't really be a huge loss if we lost any of these two, because Adam Rose was basically just a comedy character for a while, and then he was part of this jobber squad of social outcasts. So getting rid of him is probably getting rid of him is not exactly a huge loss. The only thing that would have been a huge loss was if he was on the main roster as Leo Kruger, but he's not, so nope, nothing to gain from that. And Ryback hasn't been worth much in the last few years, and really, it wouldn't be a huge loss if we lost him. So yeah. Not much else to say. I'm hoping that I'm hoping this doesn't end too bad way for everything, but again, it wouldn't be a huge loss if we lost any other people I mentioned. Yeah. I'm hoping for the best for at least Alex Riley, Barrett, and Sandow, because I do think that these guys have potential. Damien Sandow is not very. I never really thought he was that good in the ring, but he could have I feel he could have done a good job as a manager potentially. That's my fault. He could have been a good manager. So maybe he can try that, or maybe he can go back to wrestling and do a little small thing. I think he can do well somewhere else. Barrett, same thing. I think the guy has world title potential somewhere else, but we'll see. And Riley, I think he could work on something. He could go somewhere and do something. The others, not so much. Ryback could potentially, but I never really liked Ryback all that much, so could potentially do something. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm hoping for the best for at least Riley, Barrett, and Sandow, because at least those guys have been fired at the very least. I know that, and I think the guys had potential. So yeah, I'm hoping for the best. So what's next? I honestly don't know. I mean, I have exams to deal with. My last one is going to be in 3 days or something. My plans are either going to be potentially watching a movie. I don't know which one though. A movie potentially. I'm not really sure what it could be. Potentially X-Men Apocalypse, but I need to see the other films first. Potentially I could see that new Jungle Book movie before that stops running in theaters. I could potentially see the new Warcraft movie when that comes out. I don't know. Depends a little bit. And other than that, the only thing to look forward to would be E3 coming this June. And that's not looking too well either, because Nintendo has nothing to show except for the Zelda game apparently, which is disappointing because I really wanted to see what they were going to do with the NX. I don't own an Xbox, so I don't care about Microsoft really. I mean, I watch it every year just to, you know, get some, to see what they have to offer, see if there's anything that can really persuade me to cave in and actually buy an Xbox. But most likely they're never giving me, you know, anything. And Ubisoft, who usually is just a train wreck, so we'll see. I don't even know if they have a press conference this year or not. I mean, I know EA doesn't have one, and honestly we're better off, because I've lost all faith in EA. Because, I mean, they have all the sports games, they have all these weak games, they fucked up Battlefront, or their version of Battlefront, because it played basically nothing like a Battlefront game. I mean, that there was some aspects of it that were similar to the original Battlefront, but it really wasn't Battlefront. I mean, there were no class system, there were no real... The camera was too soon into the back. There was really nothing to do for single players. The command posts were taken out. You couldn't just jump into vehicles on the map as you pleased. You had to find power-ups for that. The heroes were set up in a pretty bad way. Special mention to how much they screwed up the Emperor. I mean, he has very limited abilities, and why the fuck doesn't he have his lightsaber? You know, an extra defense or something? Something to do if his power runs out, you know? Swing with a lightsaber? No? And it was just a boring match. I mean, the only thing that game really has going for it is that it looks amazing. It looks great. The sound design is great. But that's all it has. It's a great looking game. But it's just a perfect example of how graphics don't matter. Well, they do matter, but not over gameplay and content and everything else. Like, graphics is not the first thing you think about when it comes to games. It's like you said, there's so much bad with this game, but you can't just but the defense is saying, but just look at it. Like, that's not enough for me. And then of course there's the fucking $50 DLC or whatever it costs in Norwegian currency. You're essentially buying the game twice with that. And all that for just a few maps and planets, and are they really worth anything? Not really. And one character, perhaps, you know, to add to the 6. Even the original Battlefront had more content than this. It had a campaign. Despite the campaign was basically a recreation of the famous battles from the Clone Wars all the way up, from Phantom Menace all the way up to the all the way up to Return of the Jedi. But they also added in missions on planets that were not featured in the movie. And they added something. There was Galactic Conquest, even as limited as it was at the time. The gameplay was still solid, and it still was Battlefront. I mean, Battlefront 2 is a massive improvement, and if you're gonna play a Battlefront game, you play Battlefront 2. But the original Battlefront is much better than this game. Battlefront 2 is millions of leagues over this game. I know I'm kind of ranting a bit about Battlefront at the moment, but I was just so angry at what they did with this game. Because this is Battlefront. I love Battlefront 2. It's one of my all-time favorite games. The original Battlefront's a pretty good game too. And some of my fondest memories as a kid was playing Battlefront with my brother or his friends or something like that. It was fun. I loved playing that game. I don't enjoy playing this game. I mean, I had some fun with my brother in there, but it was so limited. We never really got anything out of it, and it just fell flat. It just felt like a very generic shooter. The only advantage it has over other first-person shooters is that it's not a first-person shooter. You can choose third-person, even though it's very limited. But at least you can go third-person, which is enough for me. But I'm just... that pissed me. So those are a lot of things that pissed me off this week. Pissed me off. Eurovision, nullify Ukraine's victory and kick out that stupid voting system, and I'll potentially watch you next year. Yeah, potentially. WWE. Well, okay, I wasn't really too pissed off about the releases, but I would advise the WWE to try to do something to make sure that you could utilize all the stars. And even then, I felt like releasing Damien Santa was probably a bad move on your part, because he was really over with the crowd. So you could have at least had him around. You could have fired someone like Fandango, perhaps Rosa Mendes, David Otunga. You still have him there. Why is he still there? He doesn't do anything. Kick him out, please. EA, I mean E3. I'm hoping at least Sony will show me something great, and that's pretty much all I have to look forward to is what Sony's gonna show me, because Microsoft usually doesn't interest me. EA is not there, and honestly I'm a bit off for it. Ubisoft is usually pretty bad, and Nintendo's only showing off the new Zelda game, and well, I could be interested in that. I haven't played a Zelda game. Technically I played a Zelda game, but that was Hyrule Warriors. I haven't finished. I own Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, but I haven't played them yet. It's on my backlog, which is pretty considerable. My backlog, that is. I have a pretty big backlog. So, yeah. Not much else I can say, honestly, other than I've heard some rumors about more Battlefront games coming from EA. And to that I say, fuck you, EA. And please give someone else that series, or kill it, because you've really made a bad, because you've really fucked it up.